Residents of several areas in Hammanskraal, which is in the northern part of Pretoria, have been warned not to drink their tap water. Last month, the City of Tshwane announced that clean water had been restored in Hammanskraal after about 2 decades of water challenges. But the question is, will these water issues inside Hammanskraal ever end? Let's discuss it further with the Water and Sanitation Deputy Minister, David Mahlobo, who joins us from Cape Town this morning. Deputy Minister, thank you for your time and welcome to the program. This is the continuation of a nightmare for the residents of Hammanskraal who've been warned again not to drink the water from their tap. So they're told that the Klipdrift package plant supply is possibly contaminated. Makhali's Water is trying to flush the system. What is your understanding of why this contamination actually happened?
No, thank you very much, Iman, and to your viewers. I've got the full report now. And the problem started when there was a storm that was experienced around the 5th of this month. There was a serious storm. As we are aware, there are also inclement weather conditions that are affecting the supply of electricity. The system had to shut down for quite some time. And I was not pleased when the issues of the substations, it took a little bit longer for them to be able to fix and to get the system running again until the system started running back on Saturday. One of the operational failures that has happened is that the officials from both institutions, we instructed them with Minister Majodina and the executive mayor, manage the system on daily basis in the morning and in the afternoon. When you do that particular issue, you'll be able to see when the water leaves the plant, you do your normal testing, whether the water meets the requirements in terms of microbial issues, whether chemical issues, and to bid it. You will remember when we did the module 1, it took a little bit longer for people to drink the water because there was turbidity that was coming up and some high levels of E. coli. Then when they started supplying the water, someone slept on the job, Iman, because they should have monitored the water until to people's taps. I had a complaint about a day or two because Minister is out of the country for AU Summit. We then had to interact with the mayor yesterday and there've been discussion. I've instructed them that in as much as the water is back on the system, let them be in a position to test the water until at people's taps, ensure that the system is not contaminated in terms of the bypasses that were there, and be able to do some of those particular issues. But there is a confirmation that that water looks milky. In other words, it has turbidity. Then the tests, they are taking them this afternoon. I'll receive them, including our own departmental officials. But these operational inefficiencies by our technical teams must come to an end. But at the very same time, we must also deal with the stability of the grid, because if the electricity supply from now and then, it has a problem, it will cause problem, because if our teams had monitored this thing, Iman, they will have communicated with citizens on time. When the system started to come back on operation, like any technical person will do, then you will monitor that the system flashes first. Over a particular period, you do the test, you keep the citizens informed. And this is a very unfortunate inconvenience to the people of Hammanskraal. Yeah. But I'm happy that in the second module, like we promised, that it will be back, it will be finished now at end of February. And I've told them that please ensure that you flush the other new areas where the additional water will come through.
Yeah, but Deputy Minister, and thanks for that explanation. But I guess a lot of us will be stuck on what you said. There are 2 pieces, right? So one is on the grid stability and other is on the ability and the professionalism of the technical team. So let's park the grid stability and talk about the technical teams. When you say someone slept on the job, in other words, this is a human error, a failure to be professional, to do what needs to be done to protect the system and to manage it in the way that it's envisaged to be managed. This, no doubt, makes people so angry because the impact is so vast in a community that has been without proper water for the last 10 or 11 years. So what is going to be done? And I'm sure that the people of Hammanskraal will want to know, well, whose heads are going to roll and how do we stop this from ever happening again?
Our strong view as a ministry, Iman, we actually being drawn up as a leadership in ministry to start to be more detailed and operational, which is supposed not to be the case. That's why when President spoke about the capacity in municipalities, especially the technical capacity, you know, with Minister Mkono and including Minister Majodin, when the system was becoming more erratic, we ended up actually creating that technical teams, either of Redwater or with the Mahalis, they must meet with the metros in the morning, during the day, and in the afternoon. You monitor the system. And I've demanded to the leadership of the board, and I've also asked the municipality to say, let's do a full investigation. What is the cause of this turbidity? If the cause of the turbidity was either from the main source of the cliff drift, whether it was in the entire network, where was the problem? But secondly, why are the teams that are supposed to manage this thing on a daily basis, they must not manage any other thing other than to manage the water system? Why they have not picked it up? Whether did they pick it up? When they pick it up, did they communicate it? Because also councillors, they have a responsibility, Iman, to communicate with their people to say, there is a system failure. We're looking at the system. How long is it going to take? The system has came back. But to those people who are working on the ground, they must have agility from their technical know-how to know that when these things happen, depending on the input in terms of the system, you can't be able to detect these things.
But we need heads to roll. We need heads to roll, Deputy Minister. As you say, you know, you are seeking accountability, and as at the ministry level, you shouldn't even be dealing with the minutiae of the operational issues. It should be left to the municipalities to run smoothly and to function. But we can see that it absolutely is not. And it's just even more infuriating when it comes to Hammanskraal, because this is a community that constantly finds itself having dirty water come out of their taps. Dangerous water when we consider the cholera outbreak recently.
We are absolutely correct. We will continue to support the executive mayor, the deputy mayor, and the team. We will insist that consequence management must happen. Our own attitude as a ministry and on the directive of president, you know, Iman will support municipality, but the support has limits. At a particular point when this system can't be managed well, national government were not going to sit and say it's not our responsibility. We'll have to intervene and take over. That's why even in the yesterday and the day before yesterday, the teams from all our sides, they were meeting. Yesterday, the very same thing had to happen, where Redwater, our teams, the City of Tshwane have to meet, because there's ongoing crisis and inconvenience where today you have water, tomorrow you don't have water, this intermittent supply. And we insist that the system, if you don't manage it on daily basis, on hourly basis, when you know that the car that you are driving is actually showing some red light or yellow lights, and if you don't keep an eye, you just blink for a second, the car will shut down.
Deputy Minister, you know, you and I and you and other journalists and other members of the community have spoken about Hammanskraal on many, many occasions over the last 2 years, specifically encompassing the cholera outbreak as well. How do you get the people of Hammanskraal to trust what anyone says? Everyone promises that they'll be free of dirty water forever. You recall the great flourish and showmanship of Tshwane Mayor Nasipi Moya, who drank the water there just last month as a gesture to restore residents' trust, only for them now to be dealt this blow. When are the people of Hammanskraal going to be able to put this dirty water saga behind them once and for all?
You know, Iman, there is an important role of communities, and I'm always very grateful by a number of activists in Hammanskraal who have raised the plight of people of Hammanskraal to the ministry, to the presidency, even to parliament. One of the suggestions we need to implement, let's create water committees in those particular areas. certain people that can be in a position to monitor government and keep government accountable. Hammanskraal and many other areas have many young scientists and engineers who are not working that can be in a position to utilize. But for government to be trusted in the work they do, we've asked all our people to ensure that these municipalities, when it comes to water quality, they must ensure that they publicize their water results in terms of chemical and microbial component so that we don't have problems. Then there's an issue that councillors cannot be stand by. They must always take responsibility because they are the governors at that local level, demand responsibility from their officials, communicate citizens because citizens must never be left behind. But I'm very, very optimistic, Iman, apart from this incident that has happened that was linked to electricity, getting the power to be shut down, and operational inefficiency, that the module 2 will be delivered now in February. In other ways, you'll have about 25 megaliters available, and we're on record with Minister Majodina. That 50 megaliter that will have delivered by the end of June this year is not a panacea for the number of challenges experienced by the people of Hammanskraal because they need about 80 megaliters per day. Then they will have 50. Therefore, the conclusion around the work of Rooival is an important work that must be done, but also attending to small issues like fixing of leaks on time, ensuring that the valves are working, the billing meters of water in those particular areas where people are complaining that they are being billed when the water is actually not clean, that is coming into the tap. And the executive mayor and the deputy mayor, they've promised that they are actually cancelling those particular debts. But more importantly, they must get the infrastructure to work. Faulty valves, Iman, must be attended to. The correct bills must be given to people. Those who can afford to pay, they must pay for what? But those who are poor, they must be registered as indigent in the system. And then they must change their behavior. They must use the water within their means because there is no additional drop of water available in our country.
Look, Deputy Minister, given everything that you're saying, it just sounds like this is an absolute disaster. Wouldn't you agree? From the administrative issues to the technical issues, of course, power is a part of this ecosystem, but people should just be doing their jobs. When you say that the community should form these committees and so on, yes, that's great, and communities should play that part. But people who are hired and paid with taxpayer money to do their jobs should be doing their jobs, and it doesn't seem as if they are. I want to come to three other areas. You can circle back to that comment if you want as well, Minister. But Deputy Minister, you've got water crises all the way from the city of Tshwane. In Johannesburg as well, there are hundreds of areas that are going to be, or scores of areas that are going to be without water as well because of issues related to infrastructure. You've got these heartbreaking stories of two communities across South Africa, one in Port St. John's in the Eastern Cape. This is the Njela and Mawocheni villages. Those villages, Deputy Minister, have been living with sharing their water supply with livestock. 13 years in that community in Port St. John's. Then you've got Ndwedwe in KwaZulu-Natal. Same story, many years, more than a decade, drinking the same water as their livestock. How can we accept this for South Africans? Not 1 year, a problem we can say, their issues, not 2 years, decades-long problems, Deputy Minister.
That's why His Excellency, our President, when he made the State of the Nation address last week and when yesterday he responded, we've prioritized to fix local government, ensure that there is a security of water supply, including the issues of reliability. You know, in South Africa, when it comes to reliability, the taps are there. They've run down for quite some time on the basis that there's a lot of operational inefficiencies that are happening in the system. President has said to us as a ministry, let's work together with the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, provinces, the premiers and the MECs and municipalities. We shall support them, Iman, because we don't have an option. Because if local government does not provide just basic services, how will investors come in those particular areas? When they want to invest, there's no electricity, there's no roads, there's no water. In other words, the issues of the fight against unemployment the issues around the fight around the issues of poverty will be a problem. That's why we've said all these municipalities were going to ring-fence water and electricity just to be able to improve their operational efficiencies. Then they will ring-fence the funding so that infrastructure can be made available, even around issues of maintenance. It's the biggest issue that we're going to do. But in terms of water availability in the country, we are actually in the market working with the budget facility and national treasurer, doing blended finance where private sector comes in, our TCTA, they come in, have more money so that we don't run out of water.
Yeah.
But in managing the current system, Iman, like in Johannesburg and elsewhere, it's going to be very important that those who work in the water and electricity must be professionals. You can't have someone who don't have the right qualification and right expertise managing that. But equally, in Johannesburg as an example, and in Tshwane to a certain extent, I've seen very good engineers. They are very, very capable. They need to be given the tools of trade, Iman. That one, there is actually, for an example, chemicals, chlorine, if you wanted to treat the water. There is a bulk available that when there is a failure of either power, whether there's a pipe burst, they are able to be there on time. That's why in Johannesburg, we've asked Red Water to give Johannesburg additional cars. So to these teams that are fixing the leaks, they are doing their job. But in the main, we actually have to be able to know now that local government, they've reached a stage that they need our support. They must be open that we need to throw in the capability of retired professional, private sector, because if local government doesn't work, we all live in one municipality or the other, and it can be very frustrating.